Syria's ambassador to the UN has accused the United States of trying to take credit for the operation to retake the city of Deir ez-Zor from ISIL.
The U.S. coalition and rebel militias they support halted their operation near Raqqa, which was a stronghold of ISIL, and threw their forces behind trying to push the Syrian army out of Deir ez-Zor, as if the Americans were competing with the Syrian government over control of Deir ez-Zor instead of fighting ISIL in Raqqa.
The remaining terrorists in Deir ez-Zor are now surrounded by both the Syrian army and US-backed Kurdish forces. Our correspondent Murad Gazdiev is in the city.
The siege may have been lifted, but it's not over yet. ISIS holds out in parts of Deir ez-Zor, though not for long. Day and night, battles rage around the city. The jihadists are throwing everything they have into the fight.
Every day there is combat. They'll use heavy weapons from range, or they'll try to infiltrate in the middle of the night. They attack with suicide vests and car bombs. The battle goes on every day.
But the tables have turned. It is ISIS now that is surrounded and slowly being squeezed out. We're at a Syrian artillery position overlooking the industrial city, the industrial quarter of Deir ez-Zor, for supporting troops that are staging the offensive down there, an offensive that began earlier this morning with a barrage of airstrikes. But the battle is said to be fierce, with ISIS giving no quarter. From here, Syrian spotters watch for ISIS fighters from above. This is why height is so important in war. Better vantage and better aim. And at this range, you can't really miss, not with artillery. Hits are verified and confirmed in real time. It was at this exact spotter's nest that a Russian lieutenant general advised Syrian officers 15 minutes before his death. He was killed several days ago by an ISIS shell, just a few hundred meters from here. ISIS fired back. As we filmed, shells began falling all around. We ran, but the Syrian batteries kept firing.
The city of Deir ez-Zor will be liberated in a week at the most. And we'll free some of the suburbs too.
The cost will undoubtedly be high. It's a challenging battleground, from dense urban areas to lush riverbanks and even trenches. The Euphrates is both a blessing and a curse. ISIS still uses the waterways to move men and arms and even launch surprise attacks.
This bunker is manned during the night because the tower across the river belongs to ISIL.
For 3 long years, Captain Ibrahim's squad has bled and died in these trenches along the Euphrates. Their sacrifice not enough to break the long stalemate. But now, everything's changed. Now, they're winning. Murad Gazdiev, RT from Deir ez-Zor, Syria.
After 3 years of terrorist siege, many people in Deir ez-Zor are in desperate need of medical help right now. Now, this is the only hospital in the city that's actually working, and as you can see, it's riddled with bullet holes and shrapnel. Right now, it's only got 7 doctors, and they're overwhelmed by patients. Medical supplies are also in short supply. This is Mohammed, one of the patients there. He was wounded in terrorist shelling, but his father was killed in the same attack. We spoke exclusively to Syria's foreign minister on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly, who shared his thoughts on the future relationship between the Syrian government and the US-backed Kurdish forces. He also thinks his country's crisis is now in its final chapter.
Over the last 3 months, the Syrian army and its allies have managed to liberate more than 55% of Syrian territory. That's why I say that the main fighting in Syria is coming to an end, and that we're writing the last chapter in the history of the crisis. When we're done with ISIL, we can sit down at the negotiating table with our Kurdish brothers and agree on the terms of our future relationship. I always say every reasonable person must learn from the past. In the past, the United States always turned its back on its allies. That's why I hope that our Kurdish brothers will learn from that.